I promised you all that I would do a video on this very topic, and here we are today. We are doing a topical video on the discussion about how social media and marketing can coexist and actually benefit from one another. It's something that I have discussed in the past on various videos, most specifically my video where I talked about the Apocalypse 2.0, which was following the whole Matt's What It Is situation. But I figured that I would give you guys a deeper insight and look into what I personally believe when it comes to marketing and social media and the techniques that are used from both sides, both from the influencer and from the companies that are trying to use the influencer as an additional promotional brand, so to speak, as well as covering what I would personally do in order to further establish yourself and earn a sustainable income in a climate where YouTube isn't necessarily the platform that I personally believe is the most sustainable. Well, it is, but rather I mean the processes and sort of revenue streams that YouTube currently have in place for creators, I don't believe are the most effective that YouTubers can be using in order to actually sustain themselves and bring in a viable revenue stream for the long term. Anyway, without further ado, let me just introduce you to the Cynical Apex commentary, how social media and marketing can indeed coexist and benefit from one another. But in order to actually give you some context and depth into what kind of led me down the path of taking this particular angle and making me actually execute the video that I have had planned for quite a while now, honestly, it was actually the James Charles situation that came up on Twitter. I'll be showing that soon, but just to explain to people, basically someone talked to James Charles on Twitter. Well, they tweeted out at him because you don't actually talk on Twitter, you tweet. Basically complaining about how they had 6 ads on a 30-minute video. And then James said, hey, I'm just doing it because I want to make a sustainable living. And I just want to use the tools at my disposal when it comes to monetization and ad revenue to my advantage. Which I honestly don't blame him for doing. And in fact, it is economically a smart decision. It's something that everyone would do once you monetize yourself. You use that to your advantage. And you want to eke out as much value from the video as you possibly can. Basic, fundamentally sound logic there, and it's something that I do agree with. However, as you'll see by the end of this, I actually don't feel like AdSense alone is the best way to either structure your videos or to actually make the revenue stream that you are seeking, and that you are actually leaving money on the table by relying strictly on AdSense. Which I'm not saying he is, because I'm certain, and I know this for a fact, that he has brand deals and sponsorships on the side. However, I figured that I would explain that I feel like those should be more pertinent than AdSense. Anyway, let me show you. This tweet from at Sophia Machete is what started it. Basically saying, James, sister, 6 ads in a 24-minute video, which, if you guys are wondering, breaks down to an ad every 4 minutes, which I think is actually quite fair. Please don't, I know you've got to make that money, but maybe 2 to 3 for 24 minutes, I don't know, I'm tired of that in transition. You have so many sister subs, I feel you out of most don't need the advertising revenue, which isn't necessarily correct at all, because in fact it really doesn't matter how many subs you have, and we'll discuss this a little later, but the AdSense revenue sort of system or negotiation or deal per se actually isn't as much in the YouTuber's favor as you might want yourself to believe, or as you might actually think it is. Anyway, James fired back in a response with 6 ads on a 30-minute YouTube video equals roughly 4 minutes of ads, which is true, it depends on the ad length, which are usually skippable. Again, that is correct. Again, it depends on the ad itself on whether or not it is skippable, and which YouTube takes a huge percentage of. We'll discuss that later because this actually comes into what I was making this topic about anyway. But a 30-minute TV show has 8 minutes of non-skippable ads and no one questions it. Again, that is true, but that is a different dynamic and we'll discuss that as well. Please stop complaining when YouTubers recognize their worth. We'll discuss this again a little more. But I actually don't believe YouTubers are actually recognizing their worth, or rather they are not pushing their worth as much as they should. And it all comes back to what Charles said about the percentages. You see, when Charles said that YouTube takes a huge percentage of the dealings from, or the money from AdSense negotiations, he was talking about the 55-45 split that creators and YouTube have. A split that actually leaves money on the table from the point of view of the YouTubers. You see, initially I actually thought it was more like a 70-30 split, or at worst maybe 60-40, not 55-45, which is heavily leveraged in favor of YouTube. And I get it from their point of view. They're a business, and of course, creators or influencers are using their platform in order to broadcast themselves. Cue the catchphrase of YouTube being broadcast yourself there. And of course, as such, if YouTubers are going to make money off them, then they're going to want a cut of the pie. However, YouTubers themselves should at least try to leverage themselves further. Because let me put it this way for you. Let's say a video generates $1,500 worth of revenue. You would think that the YouTuber or influencer themselves would see at least 1K of that, right? Wrong. They actually only see $825 of that, with YouTube taking the remaining $675. Now, I know $825 is still a lot of money and is still more than most people would make in a month, you would assume. However, it is indeed leaving a good $300, $400 right there on the table. And when it comes to bills and sort of financing yourself, then yes, that is indeed not a smart economic decision to make, to leave money on the table. Of course, that should as well be simple business, because businesses are going to eke as much value as they can out of their product, which is what YouTubers should try to be doing with their brand. In fact, they are letting YouTube hold the leverage by not negotiating the deal or not putting themselves in a position to actually acquire the leverage from YouTube, which is what I was going to actually explain today, and how I feel like brand endorsements and using them as your main platform of revenue and advertising streams, it can not only leverage you to get a better deal out of the AdSense system or algorithm, however you want to say it, but also sustain you for a longer period of time than just solely relying on AdSense itself will, as it shows that you are actually a self-sustaining market and a viable commodity. Now, what do I mean by that? Of course, what I mean is YouTubers should be saying to brands, hey, this is what I offer, and this is what I can provide you in terms of promotion if you can negotiate a deal with me that allows us to have a win-win, as in, I'll promote your products on my videos and get them out to audiences and hopefully bring you in value if you are willing to pay me a certain amount. Let's just say, and give me a certain split. Let's just say the same figure that I gave you before, $1,500. And let's just say the split that they agree with is 75/25 split in favor of the influencer rather than the business. That is $1,125 that the influencer has pocketed from that deal. And of course, when you look at it in the grander scheme, that is much better than simply settling for 825 on a video where you put in a certain financial effort, which I would say is around like 900 to a K, even more, depending on the sort of production quality you are looking for in the videos, which comes into sort of the television production thing and the fact that valuations for TV will always be higher than valuations for YouTube due to production value and production quality. Of course, TV has at least 100 or 200K per episode, and that's just at a minimum baseline level. That far exceeds what the standard YouTuber has. However, that doesn't mean that YouTubers shouldn't be trying to push for similar deals, or at least deals that have a decent percentage outcome for them, much akin to what television networks do. As after all, YouTube can easily be compared to the television of the internet or of social media, which is something that I have done many times, in fact, when referring to it. Because you look at the sort of genres and you sort of look at the dynamics that both television and YouTube have, and you see how they mirror one another. And of course, YouTube is becoming the new age of media due to the fact that we are, as a society, becoming more reliant on the internet rather than what we were like 20, 30 years ago. So of course, as the television viewership numbers are dipping down, and yes, they are, especially when it comes to the younger generation, which is the shift that we will see more and more as the internet continues to maintain its hold over society and becomes a more influential part of our lives, whether or not that be YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, or if there is something that replaces any of those, whatever that is, we don't know how it's going to be at that time. So of course, looking at it, the influencers are now looking to dip into what was the established market for the longest period of time, and to this day still is number one when it comes to reaching a wide range of audiences and demographics, and that is television. So as per that, you would expect that YouTubers would become more aggressive when it comes to pursuing revenue and advertisers trying to flock towards them rather than what had already been embedded and established into the culture. However, what I am seeing is that people aren't actually doing that as much as I feel they should be. Now, what do I mean by that? You'll actually see by the fact that most people, when they do sponsorships or brand deals for the videos, only incorporate them at either the start or the end of the video, and usually only have one particular brand deal on the video. Now, I get it. You can maybe only get one brand per video. However, just like television, you should be pursuing multiple brand deals per video because, as we all know, television ads aren't just one specific thing, are they now? Because they're not. We know there are at least 3 or 4 different advertisers that promote on a certain ad break block during a video. And I'm not saying YouTubers should do the same because, yes, I can get how that's annoying. And luckily, when it comes to television, we do have remotes to actually change the channel and somewhat make them a pseudo-skippable. However, that's not the case because you never know when ads are going to finish, whilst you would on YouTube videos because, of course, you can skip them. But it also allows you to actually plan around the video. It allows you to actually transition into the ad somewhat more seamlessly than the current system. Now, I don't exactly blame the YouTubers themselves, and I will show a response that James Charles did give to Ali by T, or T of Ali, however her name is pronounced. You'll see it on the picture I'm going to show you, right? But he basically says that he does try to structure his ads on YouTube via the AdSense system to where there are lulls or transitions to make it seamless. However, the system itself does not allow it to be. Basically, here, as you see, T. Byerly is suggesting the same thing that I was talking about with the structure and how television has that, but YouTubers don't. Whilst James responds with, he always strategically tries to place them by exact timestamp, but sometimes it doesn't work as it just randomly chooses where to put the ads, which can lead to viewer frustration and is very understandable when you actually think about the structure and the flow of a video, because of course nobody likes interjections halfway through where it's just like, hey look, here's an ad now let's forget what they were saying before and lose track of where we were in the video just so we can watch this attempt at promotion and then go back to the video and expect it to hold the same flow and the same structure. So as I said, when it comes to brand deals, you can actually control that. You can say, hey, I'm going to place this at X point of the video, if that's okay, and the sponsor will either agree if you fit the demographic that the advertiser is looking for, and for you, if they fit what you think that your demographic would like, then of course it can be a win-win situation as you're getting the revenue from the deal and they're getting additional promotion to a market that they may not have otherwise as easily accessed due to the fact that the 18 to 24 demographic, or even younger than that, are turning more to the internet and social media for their viewership rather than the conventional methods of television or radio. So as long as they can continue reaching out to that market, to that demographic, it's going to be beneficial for them as long as there is the alignment, of course, between what the YouTuber is peddling out, the sort of content they are putting out there and making consumable, and what the advertiser is promoting. Of course, we don't see that synergy either with the AdSense system, as it's actually Google that randomly generates the ads on certain videos, which of course has led to situations like the two apocalypses we've seen, and is something that I did discuss more in depth when it was the apocalypse exposes a flaw in YouTube's system, alongside the 55-45 split that I've talked about in this, which is essentially YouTube asking YouTubers to leave money right there on the table so that they can gobble it up and continue to sustain their beneficial product. That is something that most businesses won't tolerate, and you'll see more so when it comes to advertising that the split is more 80-20 or 70-30 in favor of the people that are actually promoting the product rather than the business itself, which is what you would expect when it comes to promotional arrangements, as it is the promoter that is giving the product exposure. So of course you would ask for the largest share of the pie if you were promoting the product, whilst with the YouTube and YouTuber arrangement, YouTubers aren't necessarily promoting YouTube, so it is a little more understandable that YouTube would try to make a more beneficial split for them, as they are the ones that are offering the platform. However, even in that case, YouTubers should try to eke it up to like 65-35, which still isn't the greatest split, but is more beneficial to them than 55-45. Duh. Basic logic there. More money means more beneficial and means more chances to sustain yourself long term. But as I said as well, that's where the promotional arrangements and brand deals can come into place, as well as sponsorships, and using your video as a means to convert them and convert your viewers into fans and consumers of those products, because of the fact that brand deals can sustain you for more than what YouTube can, basically by using the same $1,500 and the $11.25 compared to the $8.25 that you would get from YouTube's AdSense, and relying on that alone. That $300, of course, You're still leaving money on the table because, of course, you would want it to be 100-0, but that's not always going to be feasible or even possible. But it is a heck of a lot better than the system that is in place now, as you can quite clearly see. But of course, YouTubers might be thinking, hey, but our fan bases won't like us peddling our sponsorships and that on videos either. So, yes, you can't win in that situation either. But they would be a lot more understanding if you've actually structured it in a way so that it actually fits the vibe of the video rather than just jumping out at you like a monster out of the bushes and saying, hey look, I'm an advertisement, and then going back to a video that is completely unrelated to what the advertisement was about. It is that sense of control that the YouTuber or influencer, and anything in general when it comes to influencers, should be looking to have. And that is how you can actually control your money and sustain your revenue stream for a longer period of time, rather than watching it fluctuate as the YouTube system fluctuates with its ebbs and flows. Of course, ebbs and flows are going to be a part of brand deals or sponsorships as well, but as long as you can keep your content aligning with what your sponsors are looking for in terms of demographics and what they seek in terms of sort of anything you have done during the negotiation process itself, which of course you can dictate with putting out there, hey, this is my content, I'm not going to change it, so if you want to be sponsoring me, then you have to accept that this is the sort of content I want to create. And as such, you basically hold the cards, you hold the leverage, because it is them that are coming to you. You're not always going to go to them. Of course, you can go and look for brand deals and sponsorships, to which you do have to agree somewhat with their terms. Well, with all their terms, because they have the leverage. They don't need you to be sponsored by them, whilst you need them to sponsor you if you're going to sustain themselves. But if it's them that are coming to you, then of course it's vice versa. And that is something that YouTubers should be looking to do, more so than kowtowing to AdSense and Google/YouTube. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have to simply rely on AdSense, because if that's what you desire, and if you're doing this more as a hobby rather than taking it as a job, which is what most YouTubers are doing, and this is actually directed at them in terms of looking at brand deals and incorporating them for basic structure and finding a way to incorporate those into videos, more so than relying on a system that we all know is flawed and that's been discussed ad infinitum at this point. Anyway, thanks for watching this video so far, but I just got one last thing I want to say. Basically, it's more, brand deals are what you should be looking at, and brand deals are the way that marketing yourself on social media as a brand and accepting that, yes, this is the future, that yes, TV is slowly becoming anarchic, with the median age of viewers being like 58.7, which of course is the older generation, which is what you would expect, and that you have to embrace YouTube or other social media platforms as the best way to reach out to the younger demographics and bring in new viewerships that you would not otherwise have accessed if you just simply relied on television and radio. And I think advertisers are getting that, but it also allows them to control what they advertise themselves on and to pick out YouTubers or influencers that fit the demographic that they are seeking, just like it allows influencers and YouTubers to become a self-sustaining, self-fulfilling market, which is what they are trying to do. And it allows them to further show, hey, we are actually a worthy commodity. We are worth the value we claim. Whilst creating a harmonious relationship that will last, hopefully, long term for the creators and the advertisers alike, and bring in both a new market for the advertisers and the influencer if they have a co-advertising arrangement with the sponsor or the business where the business promotes the YouTuber and has them even appear on the ads so that they can bring in a new viewership that they may not have accessed otherwise. Of course, that's not going to always be the case, but if the advertiser uses it on a billboard or uses it even on a television campaign, it can bring in a new audience. Whilst for the YouTuber, not only is it a revenue stream, but it allows them to create the content that interests them the most, whilst knowing that they'll still have people and products coming to them and sponsoring or advertising on those particular videos. Just like you see with television shows. And like South Park, which are controversial, yes, but they have advertisers clamoring to them. Just as YouTubers can have that themselves if they can find the right brand market to target and know their demographic, which is why you have analytics there for you. Anyway, I'm going to actually let you guys go now because I've discussed this and hopefully explained it well enough to why I personally believe you should be looking at brand deals more so than just an AdSense system that has its flaws and doesn't appear to be giving you the leverage that you were seeking. But either way, I'll see you guys on the next video. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'll leave that in the description. It's @CynicalComments. But for now, bye bye.